What's going on YouTube? Ferocity here. Hope you guys are doing well. Black Ops 6 has been out for just over a day now, and the more I play this game, the more the game feels buggy, unfinished, unpolished. And this isn't to say that I dislike Black Ops 6 or that I think Black Ops 6 is bad. That's not the case. I'm having fun playing the game. There are aspects I don't like, which we've talked about, maps being the number one on my list. But it's hard not to realize or notice the aspects of this game that feel unfinished. I mean, look at the gameplay that you're watching right now. I'm fiddling around with my classes because the class that I'm presented with isn't the class I'm selecting. It's somebody else's class that, for whatever reason, I'm being forced to use, and I can't utilize the class that I want to use. And I fiddle around with it all game long. I have some good moments with this class. It's not the best gameplay, and that's not what the focus is. I just want to highlight the fact that this was never a class that I selected. This wasn't a class I made. And this goes hand in hand with the lack of polish that I've seen so far on Black Ops 6. This, alongside of some of the text problems that people within the community are noticing, and I'll put it on screen now as well, you notice how these little details were missed. And while it's not the biggest deal in the world, it's not game breaking, it would just be nice if they paid attention to these details. It's not the end of the world that the class that I used for this game wasn't one that I pre-made myself. It's not the end of the world, but it's one of those things that lends itself to an experience that doesn't feel completely finished yet. There's bugs that are popping up everywhere, like the flashbangs where you can put your scoreboard on and see through it. Bugs are going to happen. I get that, and I don't pretend that video games need to be perfect. But at the same time, I feel like games that released back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, and so on were more complete. Didn't have these flaws. Unless, of course, we're talking about MW2 from 2009 that had the care patch glitch and the javelin glitch. But that's neither here nor there. It feels like games today are being pushed out, incomplete, unfinished, to be resolved later. It's okay if there's a few bugs. It's not the end of the world. They're not striving for perfection anymore. They're just striving for good enough. And that's how the experience feels right now. It feels like they were going for good enough. Not great. Not perfect. Not amazing. And I'm sorry, but it has its own ripple effects while I play the game. I notice it. And players have noticed it as well. I mean, when you boot up this game, the first thing you're hit with is an ad from Call of Duty HQ. And I could go on a separate segue talking about how terrible COD HQ is, but we all know how this community feels. I don't think there's a single person who likes it. But it would be nice if the first time I boot up the game, I'm not bombarded with an ad to spend more money on my startup screen. I get it, Activision has to make money somehow, but trust me, I think they're doing just fine after the launch of Black Ops 6. More people are playing this game than have in previous years because Black Ops 6 is good. And it might seem like I'm nitpicking just to be negative, but that's not the case. I want to provide feedback on what I'm seeing. Things like the text problem with the weapons overlapping the text, this shouldn't be an issue, and yet it is because it's just one of those things they've overlooked. And then it begs the question, what else have they overlooked? I haven't dove deep enough into this game to see what else they potentially have missed, what else they have potentially overlooked in favor of jamming the store down our throats, or whatever it might be. So I do find it very interesting that so far this is what the community is dealing with. Again, these aren't massive problems, but they're just small little reminders that the game is unfinished, it's unpolished, it's not in a perfect state. And it begs a question about what else we're going to find along down the road. But I want to continue this into talking about some issues that players were experiencing over the last few days. Most notably, the PC crashes that I've been hearing about. And that in and of itself is extremely frustrating. What seems to be even more frustrating is that for some, there's no resolution. Now again, this is affecting a very small minority of players, but the whole goal of a game like this is to try to provide a consistent experience for everybody in the community, and unfortunately, that's not the case. there's something going awry, and it seems to only affect players that are trying to play Black Ops 6. It's not affecting players that are trying to play other games out there. And sure, PC crashes are going to happen. There's going to be problems at the start of a game, and I'll recognize that. But every single year, we seem to be entering these types of issues. Every single year, there seems to be more and more problems that affect more and more players. You just spent $70 on the game. The expectation should be that it works out of the box. And unfortunately, that's not the case for some. And then there was a problem on Steam yesterday where people were notified when they booted up COD HQ that they weren't allowed to play until they updated the game. However, they couldn't find an update on Steam anywhere. So they had to play around with a few settings to finally get the update to trigger. Now, this might not be on Call of Duty, it might be a Steam problem. But regardless of whose fault it is, it still comes down to permeating into a bad user experience. And that's not fun for anyone. And it's very clear that Call of Duty has put out a good product this year. Like, don't get me wrong, don't get my words twisted. I like a lot of what Black Ops 6 has to offer. It would just be nice if the entire experience was consistent for everyone. If we didn't have some of these underlying issues that are creeping into your everyday gaming. Luckily, they finally corrected the leveling issue that I saw in the game. For so long, every game I entered, everybody was just level 1. All of my friends on my friends list, level 1. And while it's a small detail, it's something they used to get right. And that's what I keep reminding myself, is that I don't think it's too much of an expectation to meet the standards of your game that was released 10, 15 years ago. The fact that COD 4 released and didn't have issues like this at launch, where you had text problems, or you had level problems, or you had custom classes that weren't your classes selected for you. It's just problems that shouldn't be happening at this stage of this franchise with how seasoned the development team should be at this point. And the amount of times that I've been personally reset back to level 1 as a visual glitch, as a visual bug, only to have to redo all my classes again, is more than 5 times. And it's not the biggest deal in the world, but these are just those small issues that slowly start to build over time, and they start to collectively add to disdain for the game, because you're like, well, this is a problem, and this is a problem, and that is a problem, and soon enough, all you're seeing is the negatives. And that's not what I want for this game. I want to see the positives. I want to talk about the positives, because there's a lot of good here with Black Ops 6. There's a lot that we should be focusing on. But unfortunately, I think it's also important to bring out the bad side of this game as well and talk about that and highlight that. Because for everybody that's trying to glaze this game, I feel like they are glazing over the fact that this game does have issues that need immediate resolutions. So I'd love to hear from you what you've found so far in the game that might just be that small little nitpick that's an issue for you. Leave a comment down below to let me know. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.